Mom, Dad's being weird again.
Luscious.
Honey,
So full.
it's just grass.
Oh, it's so much more than just grass. It's a healthier, greener, and more luscious lawn. Yours can be too.
Look at you.
With Kabursky Brothers Lawn Care.
Remember, no shoes on the lawn. Because you're so beautiful.
Call or click today.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is right at your fingertips, anywhere in Iowa. It's sports betting, the way it should be, with transparent and high betting limits, tight money line splits. Start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa.
This is the Iowa Everywhere Weather Center. Here's Chief Meteorologist Amber Alexander.
Decided to bring a dummy like me in to talk about this one because everybody's talking about the severe weather outbreak that could potentially happen on Monday. So Amber, being the astute meteorologist that she is, was like, we need to do something here. So here we are. And I decided to host it with her. So don't worry,
Yeah,
I'm not
thank
going to
you,
be.
Chris. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm not going to be forecasting weather. I'm going to be playing the stupid guy who's kind of interested in weather and let you do your badass science stuff and let you roll with it. But this is
Okay.
interesting though, Amber, because it felt like we started to get these warnings about Monday
hmm
like a week in advance.
Yeah,
Which is
absolutely.
kind of wild because I remember when I was a kid, it was like maybe that morning you knew like that today there might be some. But we'll get to the latest on it. But
Right.
what about it made everybody so antsy?
Um,
What
so yeah, we
what
have
did you all see? I guess.
Yeah, we have a lot of different weather models that we're looking at throughout the week, and that includes several days out. But we know as meteorologists that the farther you go out, the less certainty that we have. I mean, it's kind of like golf. You know, a hole in one is going to be hard to do. Can do it, but it's still hard. Whereas if you're just putting next to the hole, a lot bigger chance that your ball is going to go in. And so this is what we look at. And so a lot of things go into looking at a forecast that is, 7 days out. So first we're looking at the heat, we're looking at the moisture, we're looking at the winds, not only at the surface, but we're also looking at the winds higher up in the atmosphere. We're looking at energy that we need for storms. And when those start to come together, it gives us at least an idea that we could get severe weather with on that day. And so as that gets a little bit closer, the low pressure system that quite often that 7 days out is not even formed yet. And so there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. One, that low needs to form. And once it does, how does it move across the Western United States, across the Rockies, and then into the Midwest. And then as you get a couple days out, you get a lot more information about what the low level winds are going to look like, how much energy we're going to have in the atmosphere, the placement of the low, and you can get a better idea of whether, how high is the tornado threat, how high the wind, the large hail threat. And once we get within that 24 to 48 hour range as well, we start to get some of our high resolution models, and that can help us with seeing whether the models even simulate initiation of some of these storms. And I think as we've gone through the last couple of days, we've started to see that the ingredients are certainly there to produce severe weather, but I think what we're mainly concerned about is the storms actually having enough energy to form. And so we know that certainly the chance of these storms forming is quite less than we were, potentially thinking it would be. But those that form certainly have everything in the atmosphere that they need to produce large hail, damaging wind gusts, and tornadoes, with really the focus being on strong tornadoes and large hail. So I think earlier in the week we had a large area, so more than 3 days out, they will issue the severe weather outlook, but it looks a lot different than what this looks like. It's usually a 10 to 15% chance and then a 15 to 30% chance of severe weather, but doesn't give any of the specifics as far as where they, think the tornado risk is going to be. Not like this is what we're going to look at. So this is the severe weather outlook, and it is for the state of Iowa, noting that there is a level 3 of 5 risk for the majority of the state. That's in that orange color. And then the best chance. So the higher the number, the stronger the threat for severe weather. And the strongest signature that we're seeing right now is over north, central, and northeastern Iowa into parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin. So what we've seen today is that severe weather risk has gotten trimmed more north. So at one point, Des Moines was in that red color, Ames was in that red color, but that has kind of been trimmed out because of how things have kind of come together, at least in the models over the past 18 to 24 hours.
So this is good news. Good
news for central and southern Iowa.
But it's still a kind of, from what I understand, dumbing it down, it's still kind of a wait and see, and we need to be looking west earlier in the day. Is that, if I'm understanding that?
Yeah. So it looks like we're going to see our first round of storms across midday, early afternoon, up into the north central part of the state, kind of lifting with the warm front. And then once that passes, we're gonna have another line of storms kind of forming around the dry line, which will be kind of draped over parts of far western Iowa. So that's where we'll be looking for development as we head into the late afternoon. I'm right now saying after 3 p.m. And most of the storms will be done by midnight, but I don't think we'll see any more severe weather forming after 8 p.m.
Okay, so just to clarify for everybody, unless you're in that far northern part of the state, this is looking significantly more optimistic than it was 48 hours ago.
Yeah, certainly. Level 3 of 5 is still a significant risk, but I think in this sense, it's very conditional. We have to have the strong uplift for some of these storms or at least convergence for some of these storms to get to form. And then once they form, they certainly have all that they need in the atmosphere. So there's still a decent chance of severe weather, but we're kind of looking, along that boundary. You get convergence when you have usually a boundary setting up, and a dry line is a boundary that is going to be separating the moist air from the dry air back behind into Nebraska and South Dakota. But that sometimes is hard to kind of form storms along in parts of Iowa. And so we're certainly going to be looking along that line to see if they form, and then if they do form, they certainly have a chance of producing severe weather. So this is go ahead, Chris.
I was just, it's fascinating to me, just how far all this has come and not very long, as far as your guys' ability to like spot this stuff out and like be pretty accurate. I mean, even like I think it was like 5, 6, 7 days ago, y'all were talking about this. I know you were, because you texted us and you're like, hey, this seems early, and even though it's not going to be like, it's not perfect as far as, it's not, the whole state isn't red. It's still like the majority of the state is on a 3 out of 5. Like you guys didn't miss it. Like, I mean, we'll see what happens, but it's just wild to me how far it's come.
Yeah. As we get into tomorrow, and temperatures are expected to heat up into the 80s. That's a lot of heat. Dew points in the 60s. You can already step outside, at least here in Omaha, and feel some of that moisture. And it's going to be the most humid day we have seen so far this year. And when you get, that level of heat and humidity, you're already starting to feel it in the atmosphere. And but it doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to see severe weather. We have a lot of heat and humid days in the state of Iowa, especially in the late spring and summer months. But This is the day when we also have quite a bit of energy in the atmosphere and some wind shear, but certainly not pointing towards a widespread outbreak across the state, which we're very thankful for. But so it looks like we'll see less in terms of how many storms are going to form. But I think the main message that we want to get across is that if those storms do form, they do have a chance of becoming tornadic and producing strong tornadoes. So we don't want you to prepare any less. We just want you to know that, it doesn't look like it's going to be, need to, freak out about it by any means, but certainly a chance that we see something somewhere across the state of Iowa. Best chance, though, is going to be across the north central, northeastern part of Iowa.
Good question from one of our viewers who's watching on YouTube right now. Amber, I'll read it to you. Robbie asked this question. I've always wondered this too. He says, does the percentage mean that there's a 15 to 29% chance across the whole area, or is the percentage for any individual point in the area, as far as the graphic that you have up on our screen right now?
Yes. So if you are included in, let's just take the red, for example, that is a 15 to 20 or 29% chance anywhere within that red area. And I believe that, we'll just say that. And then outside of there, the chances drop. So any point in there, 15 to 29% chance of tornadoes.
Okay. And then again, the timeline, I just want to refresh this for people because it's different depending on where you live in the state. But let's just say for us here in central Iowa right now, if these things are going to fire up, you think there'll be one round potentially middle of the day? What are you thinking? 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock?
Yeah, it just kind of depends on one, if they form, and two, where they form. And I think right now, the best chance for formation is going to be across the western part of the state along the dry line. There's this very small potential that we could get a few storms forming out ahead of that. But because we don't have, a boundary for some of those storms to form along, it's going to be a little bit harder for those to get going. And so that's why we're kind of focusing on the dry line to see if some of those storms are going to form. And if they form, I think right now we're looking at mid to late afternoon. So 3, 4, 5 o'clock.
All right. The other thing too is just because there's not going to be tornadoes doesn't mean other stuff can't happen tomorrow or on Monday if you're watching this. And over where you're at, I have a lot of friends in the Council Bluffs, Omaha area, and I saw the horrific hail from, I don't know, it was like a week ago or a week and a half ago. And I know because you've prepared this little graphic for us here, there's a massive hail threat tomorrow as well, even if there's no actual tornadoes. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, you can still get very large hail and not get a tornado, and there's still a moderate risk that the storms that do form produce some pretty large hail. So you see that those little dotted lines there, that means that area where storms form have a potential of hail being more than 2 inches in diameter. So it only 1 inch in diameter is what is required for a severe thunderstorm. And so 2 inches in diameter can do quite a bit of damage. And actually, my parents just got baseball-sized hail with that storm that passed through last week. But thankfully, not a lot of damage around their house.
That could ruin a lot.
Knock your windshield out. Yeah. I mean, it's falling at about 100 miles per hour. So, it can do quite a bit of damage. And actually, up into the Fremont area is where they had, I don't know if you saw some of those videos.
I did. Yeah, those things started to go viral. When those baseball sized hail were just flying through those guys' window. Yeah. I mean, you're talking a lot of guys have plants in the ground already, hopefully we can avoid that to some capacity. But
yeah, I think, even though seed might be in the ground, we won't have much at least growing out of the ground, at least.
Yeah, it's better than that happening in
like July, August. Yeah. Yeah, because you remember the derecho of 2020 coming through, and all the
man.
the crops were mature, and it just flattened them. And
Well-
this is not what we're looking at for that. I want to make that clear.
That's good. No derechos, please.
No.
That's one of those things. I'd never even heard of a derecho, and then that happened, and now I feel like there's like just like a derecho. Like I hear it's like, got another derecho coming. Like,
And it's unfortunate that people heard the term derecho on the most severe derecho we've ever had in the history of derechos, even though it was coined a term by a German physicist, actually at the University of Iowa, back in like 1850.
really?
Yeah.
Look at us just learning all
Gustavus
sorts of stuff
Heinrichs,
on a
I think
Sunday.
was his name. Huh?
Wow. I said, look at us just learning all sorts of stuff here on a Sunday afternoon. All right. Well, I think I'm good here. I know a lot of people, thousands of people tuned into this already, and hopefully they subscribe to our YouTube page and can watch some more. I know you want to look at the 7-day here real quick as well, but I appreciate it, Amber. We want to keep everybody safe, and this is unfortunately it's a good thing if you're a meteorologist, because this is the time of year where everything
It's
is
getting
amped
crazy.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I almost feel too. I've like read about this, about how like they're saying that Tornado Alley is like moving north, and feels just like we're gonna be doing this more and more. Feel like we did last year. Last year was a super active year for sure.
Yeah, it was.
Unfortunately, we had the Greenfield and like Marshalltown. There's been so many.
Linden, yeah.
Yeah, the last few years. Honestly, and I see it at home. Like my daughters are like scarred, like because they're terrified by it. They see the news
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So it's just we want to keep educating people, and thank you for doing this. I'll get off your screen and you can kind of finish up your 7-day if you
Yeah.
want. And appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining me, Chris. I really appreciate it. So just going over, severe potential once again, we're going to have a heat and humidity into Iowa on Monday, and ingredients are there to create this severe weather. So it doesn't look like we're going to see a ton of widespread severe storms across Iowa, but the few storms that we do see forming have the potential of producing severe weather. Best chance is going to be across Northeast Iowa. Temperatures tomorrow reaching the lower 80s, but then once that cold front moves through, it looks to move through about midnight tomorrow night, at least across the I-35 corridor. Temperatures do fall back into the upper 60s. Overall, though, not a bad day on Tuesday. Just a little breezy, mostly sunny, upper 60s. That's not terrible. Last day of April coming in with a chance of a little bit of rain. We'll see upper 60s throughout the day or throughout the afternoon. And then we move into the first day of May with a little bit of a rain chance in the morning, but looks to be dry for the afternoon, a high of 70. And we stay dry, at least right now, looking pretty dry for Friday and the weekend, and actually pretty mild for this time of the year in the mid 70s. Thanks to everyone for joining us for this severe weather update. I'm meteorologist Amber Alexander here with Iowa Everywhere. Take care.